Greetings and welcome to another Deckard Games YouTube thing. On today's thing, we are going to try and find out why the heck someone buys a Game Boy in 2018. Let's take a look. So, as you may have known, I'm a big Sega guy. I love the Mega Drive and the Master System also. I was never, no matter the phase, I was never a big handheld guy. I owned, not when it came out, a few years later, I owned the Game Boy Color, the Game Boy Advance and the Advance SP. But I never got into the original Game Boy, and the main reason that I can think of is the system itself. I remember back in the day, in the Mega Drive days, I used to go camping with my family almost every weekend, and the only handheld that I had was a Tetris machine. One friend of mine had the original Game Boy. One of those weekends, he borrowed me the Game Boy, and he said, "Take it. It's cool. It's the games are a little less cool than the Mega Drive, and it's black and white, but you will enjoy it." So I took it. I took it with me on the weekend trip to the park. To camping. I don't really recall the game that I took to play, or the games that I took to play with it, but I remember the first time that I turned the Game Boy on, that I powered it on. I remember looking at the screen and thinking of those words that my friend said, "It's black and white," and this isn't black and white. I clearly remember looking at the screen and thinking, "This is green. This is not black and white. This is green and black and also green." So one of the things that kept me away from the original Game Boy was the picture itself, the screen, the type of screen that you have on the console. The games itself, some of them are good games. I got a chance to play some classics on the system. Again, I could enjoy them, or I enjoyed them a little bit from a short period of time, but the screen always kept me away from the system. It's a classic console on video game history. It's one of the best-selling consoles of all time. I remember parents getting them just to play Tetris, while their children, my friends, would play other games. So the parents would also buy a Game Boy to play Tetris mainly. And yeah, I just never got into the Game Boy because of that. On a side note, although the Game Gear from Sega had a color screen, that was another system that I never got into it when it came out. I owned the Game Gear a few years later, when it was very cheap. But again, I was never a big handheld guy until the PlayStation Vita. The Vita changed the way that I look to handheld games, and the reason is exactly the same. The screen. The same way that the Game Boy screen, this 4 shades of green screen display, kept me away from an handheld system that everybody loves. On the opposite way, the gorgeous screen on the PlayStation Vita drew me to the, or draw me to the games on that system. I own a very modest collection, like 25 games for the PlayStation Vita, and I love all of them because of the screen. Of course, the graphics are better. We can't compare one generation to 5 generations further. The sound is good, the controls are good, but I believe the reason is exactly the same. The way that I disliked the screen on the Game Boy, I like the screen on the PlayStation Vita. And the other systems had good screens also. The PlayStation Portable had a nice screen. I have the PSP since almost day one. I have like 100 games for the PlayStation Portable. But again, I don't like it as much as I like the PlayStation Vita. But this is not about the Vita, it's about the Game Boy. Again, I didn't grow up with a Game Boy. I had friends who had a Game Boy. I didn't own one because I just couldn't get past the screen. It always kept me away from playing and enjoying these games that came out on the system. I played a lot of Game Boy games on the Super Game Boy, on the Super Nintendo, but not on the original system. Nevertheless, as a collector, as a fan of video games, of the history of video games in general, I decided to buy my very first Game Boy, DMG Game Boy, in 2018. It came with Tetris, of course. I have Pokemon Blue and Silver for it, which came on a bundle of games that I bought with the Game Boy Color. So I have 3 games for the Game Boy. Let me know what kind of games should I get on the Game Boy. And on these kind of systems, I'm not a big fan of long games, of games that take hours and hours and hours to finish. I love puzzle games, platformers, shooters. I love short games that you can play bit by bit, level by level, and not your time-consuming RPGs and things like that. So, I have my first Game Boy in 2018. I really appreciate it if you let me know what kind of games should I buy and play on the Game Boy. Again, you know what kind of games I like: platformers, puzzles, shooters, things like that. As long as you're here, subscribe to the channel, click that subscribe button, leave me a thumbs up if you like seeing videos like this. Also click that bell icon to receive notifications every time a new video comes up. Again, leave me in the comment section below some suggestions of games to play on the Game Boy, and until my next video, take care.